club off and on for a couple of months, and we're currently just, our building is open, but Texas is going through a real increase in cases right now. So people are staying home, which is what they should be doing. And we're just having a hard time getting kids to want to do a virtual code club. So that's what's going on in Columbus.
Tyler, you're next.
Well, hi, my name's Tyler Hahn. I'm the director of the Cherokee Public Library in Cherokee, Iowa. So a little bit about my community. We're a rural community, largest in our county actually though. A population of about 4,900. And one of the difficulties that we've had is that we've seen through our school district that only about 40% of people within our community have reliable access to internet. So it's been really difficult, and at least throughout our reopening and everything, it's been really weird. We've been giving like tech assistance through the window, and there's been a lot of pointing and looking at weird things on people's cell phones.
That's awesome. Thank you, Tyler. Marianne, you're next in my Brady Bunch imagery here. Go forth.
Hi, Claire. I'm Marianne Griffin. I'm the director of the Sunflower County Library System. We are located in the Mississippi Delta. Our home office is in Indianola, birthplace of B.B. King. We have sponsored a StarNet traveling exhibit at our library. It was exciting. And we are excited to have 2 Prenda clubs in our county. One is located in Louisville, Mississippi, and the other one is in Drew, Mississippi. And I don't have percentages on the top of my head, but I will tell you that we had a good group going in Drew before COVID hit. And now none of them can participate because none of the members have access to internet, if that can put that into perspective. So now what we're trying to do is we're trying to slowly open back up and provide the code club again. Here in Mississippi, in our county, we are experiencing a high case increase of COVID, and so people are really afraid to get out. So we are relying heavily on virtual access, but our challenge is a lot of our rural folks just don't have access to internet.
Great, thank you, Marianne. Elaine, you're next.
Hi, so yes, I'm Elaine. I'm here from Ledyard, Connecticut. We're a small rural town in eastern Connecticut, pretty close to the border of Rhode Island. We've actually been open since June 22nd. We were actually one of the first libraries in the state to open because that's what the mayor wanted. They kind of wanted us to lead the way. And we're actually pretty lucky here in Connecticut. Things have really slowed down with the virus up here in the northeast corner of the country. So people are coming into the library, but we're not doing in-person programs yet. All of our programs are still virtual. And we've been promoting the virtual code club that Luke has been running Thursdays at noon. I think we only have had one person though come on so far to that. Of course, rural community, just like everyone else, there is some trouble with internet access for some of our patrons.
Great, thank you. iPhone, will you introduce yourself? Oh, wait, I'm unmuting you. Maybe? There we go. Oh, wait, one more. Let's try it again. I think we're both clicking. There we go.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yes, perfect. Okay. Thank you.
I'm Jackie Rose, and I'm located in Fort Meade, Florida, which is a small rural, of course, town, and we have about 6,000 residents. Our internet is not very good and not many people have access to it. We have probably like 25 or 30 kids that were registered for our code club. We have reopened, but we're not having any in-person programming. Everything has been done over the internet, and I don't know when we're going to reopen. Of course, we're in Florida, and Florida is having a real hard time. And so it's just been sad. That's all.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Belinda. We can't hear you.
Is that better?
Oh, there. Yes.
Sorry, I had my headphones in and apparently this microphone on it doesn't work. My name is Belinda. I'm from Baldwin City, Kansas. We are just probably about 30 miles outside of Kansas City. And we had a great club to start with. Our very first night, we had 35 kids showed up. So we ended up breaking it up into 3 different groups because that was a lot of kids all at once, and we had 3 devices to use. And since all the shutdown and everything, we have had nothing. We've done just recently in the last few weeks, we've been doing, I'm calling it Programmer Says, kind of like a Simon Says type thing, giving them little tasks to do, like the instructions for folding the paper airplane, things like that. It's kind of a no screen time programming activities. We've been handing those out through different Facebook and social media. And then also we are a pickup site for free lunches. So we've been kind of trying to hand out material, taking advantage of everybody's here for lunch. So here's information. So we've been passing those out, but we just have not had anybody getting on virtually to do code clubbing stuff.
Great. Thank you, Belinda. Judy, are you set? Should I come back to you?
No, I'm fine. They pulled me out.
Okay.
My cake because today's my birthday.
Happy birthday. Yay.
They just sang happy birthday to me, and I'll be getting cake in a little bit.
It's a little hard to hear you. We can hear you, but it's a little hard. I don't know if it's the mic on your headphones or.
It's on the thing up here.
Can you hear? Can other people hear better than me? No, it's really low. Is your headset plugged in? Maybe plug it in, take it, unplug it and plug it back in. Not hearing a thing. Now we don't hear anything. Now you're mute. Now try.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, then I know I can't wear my earphones and do that at the same time. Okay, well, I just became acting library director, so we're one piece short. Not that we had a big staff to begin with. Our library is open, but we're only letting people in for a little bit of time, and we're not letting children in without adults with them. So we can't really have an active code club going on in the library, not to mention we're not doing any type of programming in the library. So I've been basically just running them. Anybody who wants to come in 24/7, they've got a notice coming, you can join in. Haven't had too many people joining up again. We had a spurt and we really need to do more marketing. So, and I haven't had time to put a whole lot of time into it, unfortunately.
Great. Thank you, Judy. Amy, tell us about you, where you are, what you're doing.
Well, I'm Amy Mayho from the Great Bend Public Library in Central Kansas. We are open, but we're basically open for you to come in and get your materials and head out. We've taken away all seating, all that kind of stuff. We do have our computers separated, and we have some computers available. So we also had a pretty good code club going before we stopped. We were really excited about it. We've been posting through the shutdown and through everything, trying to get them to still do it, telling them that they can do it without us, and we send out messages, but I don't know. I haven't really looked to see if people, I know a few were logging on. We've been trying to push out the online one, especially for our teams and things, to get on and see if they want to participate in that. But we haven't had a code club per se ourselves. We're not doing any programming right now, except for our story times, and they're virtual.
Great. Thank you, Amy. Zach, what's up with you?
Oh, what's up with me? My name's Zach Steer. I am from Erickson Public Library in Boone, Iowa, which is about 20 minutes from Ames and 40 minutes from Des Moines. We've actually, I used that word at the beginning with transformation, and that's what I feel like we're heading into. As I continue to think through, especially with Code Club, trying to understand, as Tyler and many of them have mentioned, the whole issue with broadband and access to internet. So we're really trying to work with our school system just to kind of understand how many students, have Chromebooks, and do they have an understanding of, do they have access to internet? And then seeing if we could encourage them to add our resources, Code Club information to their return to learning plan. That's what I've been kind of digging through, just to kind of understand what their return to learning plan is and how we can plug into that. We do have another grant with NASA with StarNet, and that also has seen a little bit of a drop off as well. But we started Virtual Code Club 2 weeks ago here, and it's so far so good. Not the number that I want, but I'm really not focusing too much about that, because I think it's far different to do Virtual Code Club than it is in person. So I challenge all of the participants to do an uncoding activity at home on top of the coding activity. And it's been it's been awesome. I've had them code a sandwich, how to make a new sandwich. This week, they coded an adventure with their pet. So we'll find out what that's like in a few hours. I can't wait. And it's just humorous. Adding humor in this time is probably sometimes the biggest thing for me too. So a lot of great things happening, but it's a challenge just to think through what the future holds. So.
Thank you, Zach. Leanne.
Hi, I'm Leanne Schrock from Somerset, Pennsylvania. We have about 6,700 people in our community. We're about 60 miles east of Pittsburgh and 30 miles south of Johnstown, Pennsylvania, if you're familiar with those at all. We were partnering with the after-school program with our Code Club until the kids quit attending. So we didn't have anything in place for any in-programming since we've closed. I have included the Prenda Code Club as a link on our online summer reading program that the kids can earn a badge if they go in and do some of the activities. And again, this fall, we're thinking about including it in after-school programming. So that's all the information I have.
Great, thank you, Leanne. Julianne.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Perfect.
good deal. I'm coming to you from my car office because I have no service in my house. But I'm Julianne. I'm the technical services coordinator that's located in Bedford, but we are a very small rural community. Let's see. 3 weeks ago, we opened up for the public to start coming in on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Tuesday and Thursday, we're still doing curbside service though. But as like most of you guys have said, we're not doing
You're breaking up,
you know, and our
Julia.
summer reading program has been, we actually, okay, I stopped video. Maybe that'll be a little better.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, no problem. So we tried to integrate our code club into our summer reading program. And we just put like Facebook blasts out. This is what we're doing this day. My director, Dina, she actually took over the younger ages of Code Club. She was doing videos that we posted to our YouTube page. And then I kind of took the older age group, and I tried to focus on coding activities that didn't necessarily have to be done on a computer or in front of a screen. I figure since the kids were out of school doing the NTI packets and just computer, it was a good idea to try to break from that. And then, so our children's programmer, we're trying to figure out how to get back into actually having a code club, because our school system is no longer going to allow any visitors to come, no programs at all. So we're not going to be able to go and visit and say, hey, these are the programs we're doing, and get the kids' input, unfortunately. So we're trying to revamp and try to figure out how to, you know, get back into this. It's just been a whole learning experience trying to work around people not coming in, and we reflect that our rural area does not have very good internet access. So it's a process, but we're working through it. So hopefully attending these meetings I'll be able to get new ideas from you all and try to implement and see what happens.
Thank you, Julianne. Elise, tell me how to say your name.
Sorry, the wrong button.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
okay.
you got it right. It's just Lise.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, we are, I'm Lise Mitchell. I'm the director with Grand Ledge Area District Library, and we are just the west of Lansing, and we had a nice code club going in person, getting about 12 kids coming in regularly, weekly, and then of course trying to go virtual. We did it for several weeks and never really got any attendance at it. We've been pushing the virtual on their own, and have had a few kids coding, but not a lot. And we've been trying to push out some no tech. So we stole, you guys borrowed the handouts for the no tech challenges, some of those things. So tonight we are actually going to try again a code club with social distancing and in person. And so I have to go to another meeting, but Scott is also here, and he's going to be, I'll be covering the desk while Scott is going to be upstairs handling the code club with kids and trying to keep everybody at separate tables. Scott, do you want to add anything?
I mean, really, yeah, we're just going to play it by ear, see how it plays out, and see if we get any degree of interest with the current climate. But, oh yeah, the other thing is, instead of having people, you know, instead of having the kids go to each other's computers to try to see what they're doing, we're going to have one centralized computer with a projector. So if they want to share a project, they can share it up on the projector. So, which we will be cleaning in between users.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So we've been trying to figure out ways to collaborate. We've been trying to figure out ways to, if we actually got more kids than the 6 computers that we're going to put out, to have some no tech challenges. And you know, we go back and forth between, will anybody come, you know, by ourselves? And so we've had the library's been open since June 15th, and it's been steady, but we've been, you know, slow because people have different fears about all sorts of things. And every day we get calls, are you open? Yes, we're open. The big sign that says open, you know. But, you know, you just keep trying every day. So we're keeping our fingers crossed. So, okay. Well, Scott, for the rest of the call.
Great. Well, thank you, Lee, and thank you, Scott. That was not only because Claire has never been here before, but to hear where everybody is was really useful. So thank you for doing that. There's so much we're all trying to figure out. So I'm going to introduce Claire. And Claire, are you going to share your screen? Is that how you want to do it?
Yeah, I'll share my screen. Yeah, thank you all for letting me know what is going on. I know things just happened so quickly, and I feel like everyone's just been like, go, like one day to the next, like trying to redo everything, and it's been really hard for everybody. But we are always trying to create resources that help libraries, so we've had to do a lot of pivoting as well. So before I get into my slides, I actually want to share my screen, and I'm going to drop this link in the chat box. But this is a resource that we've come up with in the last couple of months. It's called STEAM Ahead at Home. I'm trying to provide resources for libraries to give to their patrons from the safety of their homes. So I'm just going to share my screen, what that looks like really quickly. Okay, can you guys see this web page?
Yes.
So we put this together, and those of you who are affiliated with StarNet, you probably have heard of this, so I apologize if I'm repeating anything you already know. But we put this together, and there's really 4 main sections. So this one here, ready to share with patrons, these are activities that you don't need a facilitator. You can put them on your Facebook, your Instagram, whatever, however you're communicating with your patrons. These are just STEAM and STEM activities that they can just do from home. Usually it's like really minimal materials and it doesn't require any facilitator. I really want to point out this professional development section here because we have a section. So these are all of our webinars. We're doing, how to do a virtual program, how to incorporate the CSLP summer reading into your library, all kinds of stuff like that. But my thing that I've been working on a lot is this section here called Learn to Code. So we put this in the PD section of STEAM Ahead at Home, but it sounds like a lot of you have been doing coding clubs or have experience doing that. So if you get to a point, if you return to it, if you're doing it and your kids are really advancing or your patrons are advancing, we have a beginner area here, code.org, a lot of the resources there that you probably are familiar with. But if you want to push them to get a little deeper, maybe you have middle school patrons or high school patrons that are, advancing. We have a intermediate section here. You can start to learn how to code your own website, things like that. And then an advanced one over here, Code Like a Master. So these are not only, they're self-guided tutorials, they're free. So if you as a code club facilitator want to up your skills, that's kind of why we put it in the PD section. But if you want to start sharing these in your coding clubs as your patrons are advancing, this is a good resource to check out. But yeah, I just wanted to show this to you guys. We also have a lot of different activities that go really well with virtual programs. So these are activities you can do on Zoom. There are slides, there are apps. So if you're going the virtual route, check that out. And then of course, just NASA resources. They have put together a ton of really good NASA at home resources that you can promote to your patrons. And then I wanted to show you, so in our STEM activity clearinghouse, we have over 400 activities that are curated for libraries specifically, but I wanted to point out 2 collections. We just created a take and make collection. So we've been hearing a lot from libraries, especially rural libraries, that bandwidth is a huge issue with patrons, just not having internet access. So these are activities you can put together in little bags and send it off, with the lunch program that you might be doing or other things. But yeah, basically they're programs in a bag that you can send off with your patrons, and they can do that from the safety of their home. You don't need a facilitator, but we have a whole collection of really great activities if you want to check that out. And then we have a computational thinking collection that has a lot of activities regarding coding or other computational thinking activities, both on and off the computer. We try to get a good mix of both, because I know, especially right now, everyone has Zoom fatigue, including our including our kids, you know. So we have a good mix in there of on and off the computer. But I just wanted to share that resource with you guys before I get into my presentation, because I think you guys are a lot more advanced in coding and computational thinking than I initially thought. So those resources might be more beneficial, but we'll still go ahead and jump in. So I'm going to share my screen again with the presentation. Okay. And we'll get that started. Okay. Do you guys see the presenter view or the actual PowerPoint?
We're seeing the presenter view,
Okay.
so we can see the slide you're on and then the next one.
Okay, that was my fear. Okay, yeah, I have my setup at home. Thank you for being patient with me. My setup at home is different than at work, so I always get that one messed up. But so yeah, we're gonna have a little discussion about computational thinking. Again, my name is Claire Ratcliffe. I'm an education coordinator at the Space Science Institute, and we're located in Boulder, Colorado. So not very rural, but the town I lived in before I moved here is called Centennial, Wyoming. Very small town, less than 300 people. I really am impressed with you guys, and I'm really grateful to be here to talk about CT. So we're going to have a quick discussion about what that is, what CT is, how it is beneficial for our patrons, and why libraries should care about it. I have 3 activities that I'm going to demonstrate to you. The first one could be, it's an example of how you can do a virtual program. The second one, you probably have, this is a pretty popular activity, so you might be familiar with it, but it's a really great one for take and makes if you want to put stuff together in a bag and send it off with your patrons. And the third one is on a computer. It's an app that we've developed. Next, I'll just go over a couple resources for plugged in activities for when you are ready to do your coding club again or are venturing into the virtual coding club sphere. And then I already told you about the clearinghouse, but I'll give one last plug. Check it out. It has great resources for computational thinking, for take and make activities, and for coding. And that'll be it. So it should be pretty short, just about 10-15 minutes. But I did want to start just with an icebreaker. I know things are really heavy in our lives these days, and it's fun to kind of find the humor in it. So my question, and you can put it in the chat, is what's your favorite thing that you've gotten in the mail during quarantine? And unfortunately, I cannot read the chat when I'm in presentation mode. Oh, wait.
I will tell you.
Okay.
Tyler says not bills. So I guess, Tyler, that means anything that's not a bill. Scott says a graphics card. What else?
Awesome. Actually, I was able to pull up the chat.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And yeah, oh, a coffee mug. While you guys are thinking about it, I'll tell you mine because I'm very excited about it. My fiance and I just received on Monday our wedding bands. We're getting married in September. And so that's been very challenging trying to figure that out, but we're moving forward with it with just family, a really, really small group outside. So we got our wedding bands, and that was like the best part of, thank you, Scott. Oh, awesome. Government check, Marianne, yep. Kittens, health records. Yeah, so I just like to throw this one out there because nowadays there's not a lot of in-person shopping or things like that, but our lives are still going on. And so a lot of us are relying on mail, and I never used to get mail. That's just not something that was a thing growing up. And now, you know, I'm ordering things online, and it's like Christmas, you know, like you get a present that you paid for, but still it's exciting. So awesome. I'm going to move on. This is just a little question. And again, I'd love it if you typed in the chat. What 3 words come to mind when you think of computational thinking? This is a buzzword that's become really popular.
Your slides didn't go forward if they were supposed to.
Oops. Okay. Because I opened up the chat. Let me. All right. I'm going to have to just not look at the chat. So
I can keep you posted on the chat.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Susan says math. Marianne says sequence logic problem solving. Jackie says orderly. Computer planning numbers from Belinda. Elaine is coding collaboration algorithms. Zach says pattern recognition. Julianne says details. Tyler's got math, process, critical thinking, analysis, math, deduction. Scott, Judy, sequence planning, coding, sequence planning, coding. Sequence planning or sequence planning, coding? I don't know which it is.
No, those are all great. You guys
Yeah,
are very familiar with this, and I'm really pleased. I've worked with a lot of librarians that are very new to this, and just the word computational thinking can sound intimidating. But I like using computational thinking as opposed to coding. While coding is a part of computational thinking, we are using computational thinking in almost every single thing that we're doing in our lives besides just coding. And I think it's good to find those connections, because some people, you hear coding and automatically some people will not be interested just because of what that word might mean. People think of computers, they think of, math. And, you might not think of, if you're knitting a pattern, you might not think that you're doing computational thinking, but you are. All of those words that you guys threw out there, sequence, patterns, pattern recognition, you're using those skills. You're using CT when you're baking, when you're doing art. And so I like to try to make it more encompassing to multiple interests and hobbies and things that people, and relate it to people's everyday lives beyond just coding. All right. Did the slide move for you guys there?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Great. So I really love this quote here. Computer science is no more about computers than astronomy is about telescopes. So just unpacking this a little bit, a computer is just a tool. It helps us with computational thinking. It can help us with science, computer science, but it is just a tool that we get to use, just like a telescope is one way that we can study the universe. And so I'm so happy to hear from so many of you that you do off the computer activities. I'm very excited about the coding your sandwich, coding that kind of stuff, because it's a thought process. It's a way of breaking down complex problems and finding solutions for them. And we do that every single day, whether we're figuring out what we need to wear to go to work in the morning or what to make for dinner. We're constantly being confronted with problems that we need to solve. And when you really dig into and develop those skills, it can help every aspect of your life beyond just what you can code or do on a computer. You guys probably are familiar with this, but I like throwing this definition up there that Libraries Ready to Code created. But basically, CT refers to the thought processes used to formulate problems and their solutions. These include breaking down problems into smaller parts, looking for patterns, identifying principles that generate those patterns, and developing instructions that the computers, machines, and people can understand. It is an approach to critical thinking that can be used to solve problems across all disciplines. So again, really getting at that. It's not just computer science, it's not just coding. This is something that can help in any aspect of your life or across all disciplines. And then breaking that down, the three main things I think of, and you guys definitely hit all of these in the words that you chose. But the biggest thing, it's really decomposing a problem into smaller pieces, or I like to say divide and conquer. You're looking for patterns, you're identifying the causes and effects, and you're using algorithmic thinking. Someone threw that term out there. So yeah, that basically means you're creating a series of instructions to solve problems, not unlike creating a recipe for cooking or things like that. And really what you're doing is you're making explicit things humans do implicitly without realizing. So another great thing about computational thinking is it can really help your communication. Humans communicate in all sorts of ways without saying anything. So we have our body language, we have little nods, facial expressions, but computers don't have those same types of things unless you really get into deep machine learning, which is really cool. But to start with, at a coding club, you really have to start developing concise language. You can't just say, hey, computer, go pick up that thing on the chair and bring it to me. You have to literally give every single step. Stand up, turn 45 degrees to the left, take 3 steps, bend down, and it can really help our patrons develop concise language and concise communication skills beyond just coding video games or things like that. And I like to use this little puzzle over here, this 15-piece puzzle. This is a really simple childhood puzzle. You're just trying to move all of the numbers in order from 1 to 15. But in doing so, you are finding patterns, you are creating sequences, and you're really even just, you can give this to a 6-year-old and they can work on it and they are developing computational thinking skills, like all of the words that you guys gave as examples. So this is one, if you want to, you can buy these for super cheap, send them out in a take and make activity, and maybe just have a discussion afterwards. The biggest thing I think in doing these activities that we're implicitly kind of figuring it out without having to verbalize it, the next step to get them to understand what they were doing was computational thinking, was to have them verbalize what they did. What was the pattern that you used? How did you solve this? What were the steps that you took? And then they can really start to break it down into how they solved that problem. And so really quickly, why do we care? Why should we be focusing on CT? Because these skills really help our patrons. They can help with confidence in dealing with complexity, persistence in working with difficult problems. I'm sure since most of you are doing coding clubs, you've probably ran into a lot of frustrated patrons, or even yourself. When you can't figure it out, it gets really frustrating. And then you keep working on it. Maybe you work together on it and then you solve it and it's like the best rush, but it is difficult. I used to teach STEM to middle school students, and we did a lot of the code.org activities, Hour of Code. And I had kids in tears sometimes trying to figure out this problem, and then their friend would help them and they would be so excited and ready to come back the next time. But that's a skill we have to learn. Life is difficult and we're gonna have problems. But developing these skills can really help that persistence, that you can do this and it's going to be hard, but you can work through it. Ability to deal with open-ended problems. This was a big one. There's so many different ways to solve a coding problem. There's no one right answer, and everyone's brain works a little bit differently, and everyone's going to, even if you come to the same conclusion at the end, the path to get there is different. Their written out code or their actual sequence could look different and then have the same result. And so that can be frustrating and also very beautiful in working with patrons and being like, we all think differently about problems. Again, the ability to communicate and work with others to achieve a common goal or solution. That communication piece is huge in coding and computational thinking. And the best part is it enables kids to be creators rather than just consumers of technology. They're, especially right now when we're all kind of locked at home and kids have their devices and they're just they're working on their game over and over and over again. To give them an opportunity to create something of their own is empowering, and right now especially can be critical for our kids at home. So we are going to demonstrate a little activity called Something is Different About You. And this is about anomaly detection. Again, computational thinking isn't just writing out code. There's so many different aspects to it, and anomaly detection is one of those things. Anomaly detection basically is when you look for the difference. You're looking at 2 identical things, but one thing is different, and you're looking for that anomaly or that difference. And this is actually how we discovered planets back in the day before computers were a thing. We just had our eyes. We had telescopes, we had things, but we looked up at the night sky and we looked for patterns. We looked for differences in those patterns, and we tried to think of what are the causes and effects of those patterns. And so back in the 1930s, we discovered Pluto. And the way that this happened was an astronomer had a device that took images and it flipped it back and forth really, really quickly. And the astronomer just looked for something that might be different. And what he noticed was a light in the sky was moving. And he was like, okay, that's different. What are the causes of the and effects? What could that be? What could that mean? And they were able to discover that this was actually orbital movement, and they discovered Pluto. This was literally how they did it before we had computers. So a game we like to play for this is called Something is Different About You. And this is a great one to do virtually. So I want you all to look at me, at my video, and just study me for a minute. Look for the patterns, memorize. This is your data. You're collecting data right now on what I look like. I'm gonna give you about 3 more seconds. Okay, I'm gonna turn my video off, and I'm going to change something about me. And I want you guys to try to figure out what is different about me. What is the anomaly? All right. And I'm going to turn the camera back on in 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and type in the chat if you have figured out what is different about me.
I think they got it. It says glasses.
Yes, I put on my blue light blocking glasses. Good job. Now I'd like you to type in the chat what was the process you used to discover the difference? And I want you to dig a little deeper than just I used my eyes. Did you have a strategy, especially knowing that you had to find something that was different? What did you mentally do to prepare to find a change? Unfortunately, can't read the chat.
Oops. I was talking and I was muted. Jackie said, I studied your face, and Leanne says, it's what I noticed first, so it stood out to me. Compare first vision to second vision. Susan says, I studied your face and hair, looked for patterns. I was looking at your hair, if you were smiling, etc. Tried to memorize how your hair was. I was looking at your hair too, because I kept thinking you were going to do something with your hair. Process of elimination of facial feature details, and noticed object producing glare when camera went back on. Glasses made sense. That's Scott.
Awesome. Well, this is a really fun one. You can do it with, take turns with your patrons who are there. You can make it super silly. So sometimes when I do it with kids, I like to start really obviously. Like today I had the glasses, or maybe I'll have a feather boa that I'll put on. And then you can try again and again and make it more and more subtle. So maybe the next time I would just change my hair slightly or scowl or something, you know. And it gets harder and harder the more you go, and kids will try to fool you. But it's taking in data, it's analyzing it, and it's comparing it with another set of data. Another great one, and at the end of this, I will give you guys in the chat box a link bank that has links to all of these activities with actual instructions. And one that goes well with this is an activity I created called Anomaly Adventures. And it's where it's actual images. It's a PowerPoint presentation, so it's great to do virtual. And it's a bunch of slides of objects in space that have changed over time. And so your patrons can look at the two objects and see what is different. For example, this Pluto image is one of them. Another one is the spot on Jupiter. A about 40 years apart. We have pictures of it, and there's something going on with that spot. And we've noticed it literally just by looking at it and comparing it to images in the past. And something is different about it now. It is actually shrinking, and they think maybe in the next 15 to 20 years, it might be gone, that the storm on Jupiter, something is happening, it's shrinking. And so that's another way that we're using anomaly detection to learn about space. This activity, again, this is very popular. This is the binary bead bracelet, and this is a great one to turn into a take and make. So if you provide the string, the beads, and the code, you can send that off with your patrons and they can code their name in binary. A little bit of background on binary. So computers, like I said earlier, they communicate differently than humans. And some of the earliest computers had a series of switches that were basically on and off. And so it stored information through absolutes, either on or off. And those are represented as ones or zeros. So it actually comes down to a hardware situation. These computers, when sending signals, the signals were so difficult to measure back when computers first came out that they just did absolutes, on or off. Basically like a giant circuit sending information, and when it's off, the circuit is closed, and when it's on, it can send that information. And they were able to take those two absolutes, ones and zeros, and make combinations of them to create all sorts of messages and other information. Nowadays, we have much more advanced computers, but they still use that same fundamental principle of ones and zeros. It's not a whole bunch of bulky switches as hardware, but now we have them in tiny little chips, but it's still the same idea of these switches of ones and zeros. But this is a fun way to bring some art into your STEAM instead of STEM, and it can open up that gateway again to patrons that might be more inclined to do crafts instead of coding, but they're still learning about computers, they're still learning about history of coding, and learning about the different ways that we communicate as humans and computers. Here is an app that we just finished developing, and you can get this on any of your however you get your apps, iOS on iPhone, Android, it's on any app store. You can download it or promote it to your patrons if they have that accessibility at home. I know that's a hard one, but if you're trying to really incorporate space into your coding club, this is a really fun one, especially because we are actually about to launch another rover to Mars. At the end of this month, we will be launching Perseverance rover. So we will have a live downlink for that. So if you want to maybe incorporate that into your coding club, show the launch and then play this game with your kids. But it's very simple. It's just like block coding that I'm sure you're all familiar with. Basically, these are the only two commands you can use for level 1, and you create a sequence for your rover to go collect a rock sample. So you have to figure out with just 2 instructions how to accomplish that. And again, everyone might have a different sequence because we all kind of approach the world a little differently, but as long as everyone gets to that rock sample, then that's great. And you can discuss the different pathways that you guys chose to get there. But each round gets a little bit more difficult, and each round you will get more available commands to try to solve those problems. But it's really fun and a great way to tie into the launch of Perseverance. Finally, I'm sure you guys are familiar with these, but I love to put these out there. Girls Who Code is an exceptional organization that will start a coding club for you. It will give you $300 to get all of the supplies that you need. So it's completely free. If you sign up for it, you get all of the curriculum, and they have curriculum for elementary school, and they also have curriculum for high school coding clubs. So if you're trying to get more into beyond just Scratch and code.org, they're a great organization to reach out to and apply, and they're still working right now. They're still getting clubs up and running, and yeah, definitely check them out if you haven't heard of them. They're awesome. Also, yeah, Google CS First. Again, you can apply for them. They will send you all of the curriculum for free, all of the answer keys. So if you don't feel that confident in coding, you don't need to worry about that. They will provide everything for you. but a really great free resource to check out as well. Code.org, amazing. They teach that at schools, so it's a great way to connect into what your patrons might be doing at school. And then Scratch, of course, is a great block coding online platform. Again, just a reminder, please check out the STEM Activity Clearinghouse. Way more resources than what I gave you here today live here. But we have, check out the Computational Thinking collection, the Take and Make collection, and we're always trying to update it to be as helpful as it can be in these uncertain times. So, okay, last thing. What 3 words come to mind now when you think of computational thinking? Has anything changed? Any additions?
Giving people a second to type. I'm playing Rover Coder, so I'm sorry, I can't really do that.
Awesome. It's a really fun one.
Yeah. Fun, planning, craft, fun, doable, cool, relatable.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Exactly what I was hoping. Yeah, just trying to break down any barriers when people hear computational thinking. It can seem, very intimidating, but it's something we're doing all the time. I mean, going back to anomaly detection, that is being used in our lives all the time. I mean, we all have bank accounts, right? And I hope none of you ever get the alert saying we have detected fraud on your account, but they're using an algorithm that is looking for anomalies, looking for changes in your spending. So these are things that are constantly a part of our lives and things that we can develop to make our lives better and have us all be better communicators and problem solvers. So I'm going to stop sharing so I can drop this other link into the chat. This is a link bank that has all of the activities that I said I demonstrated today, as well as a lot more, and other StarNet resources if you want to get involved with StarNet and become more involved with that. So.
And I have a copy of the slides, so I'll make sure Luke sends them all out to you when he sends out the video recording.
Awesome. Yeah, and I just want to say you guys are welcome to use those slides if you're ever doing trainings with your staff. Feel free to use any of the slides, any of the resources on the link bank. My contact information is also on the link bank. So if you have any questions, would like me to help run any training with your staff or just anything, feel free to reach out to me.
Claire's awesome. And Claire, when you just said that about using it with staff, it also made me think we've talked a little bit about buy-in from stakeholders and community. So that would work too, right? With your presentation, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and something I didn't get into in this presentation, but that is good for stakeholders is just the growing importance that schools and even our national education system is putting a lot of emphasis right now on computational thinking and developing that in our students for a lot of reasons. A big reason is because the job market is moving more and more into the tech sector, and so to make sure our students and our patrons have the skills necessary to compete in the job market, that's a big thing that stakeholders might want to hear, but that's kind of a whole nother presentation. But
thank you, Claire. Any questions for Claire before we? And you can unmute yourself. Or any comments, thoughts? Tyler's doing a thumbs up. Actually, Claire, I think you met Tyler. Did you two meet each other in Nashville right before everything went down?
When we were bowling.
When we were bowling.
Yeah. Oh, great. Well, nice to see you again.
Anything else? Any questions, comments? Belinda says thank you. Oh, but you can see the chat now.
Yeah, I can see it now.
Well, thank you, Claire. That was really fantastic. I mean, I have heard you do this a couple of times, and it's just awesome every time. And every time I'm like, oh, yeah. And now I don't think I seriously, I'm not going to do any more work today because I'm going to be playing Rover Coder.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
check out StarNet if you want to get our newsletters. You can sign up really easily on the links. I think I put the link in there for that. And yeah, hopefully you guys can involve your patrons somehow in the launching of Perseverance. It's going to be really awesome. We just did a webinar last week about it. It's called Take Your Patrons to Mars. I put the link to the recording on that link bank if you would like to learn more about the launch and activities that could possibly go with it.
I love all the stuff you've been doing because I get the emails for thinking about libraries and other out of school time organizations for working, continue to do this work while we're all in lockdown or quarantined or just being very careful. So it's been great to see all the different things you've all created.
Yeah, and
so,
I know, yeah, STEM's probably not on people's like top priority right now, but it's still important for our kids, and anything we can do to try to provide resources for them to keep thinking in those ways is really valuable. So
absolutely, that's great. Well, thank you, Claire. Thank you all for being here today. Luke will get the recording out. He is on vacation. I don't know where or what, but he is on vacation, so he probably will get the recording out next week, and I'll make sure, like I said, he gets you the slides as well. Have a great rest of your week, everyone, and we'll be talking to you soon. Thanks, Claire.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.